I believe it's 6. Sheriff Casey.
Good evening, everybody. I talked with Roman Yuska right beforehand. A lot of emotionally charged opinions and for is if we all stand up here, let people know I'm or threaten anybody. Possibly having the people being removed. Make that quick statement. I value everybody's First Amendment right, but make sure we do it. Thank you very much.
Okay, we're going to start with asking. And the Lord has furnished us with different meetings. We catch up here with some minutes. What can we do? She had furnished us with all these things. Start with Tuesday, November 12th minutes. Do I have a motion? 2 seconds.
Passes, so November 12th is good. The next one is Monday, January 6th. I have second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Yes, it's Monday, January 6th. Next is the Tuesday, May 6th. All in favor, say aye.
She was using my.
Use the microphone, sorry.
Cannot hear.
Nope, thank you.
Okay, so we have now approved
Is
the,
it on? It needs to be closer to your mouth. First of all,
There's the picture on the back.
no, this.
does it indicate if it's on?
How close before?
Oh, there we go. All right. And now that is- Can you hear me now in the back room?
Eat the mic, better. Eat the mic.
Eat the mic.
Eat the mic.
So we have just had 3 motions to pass and approve the minutes from 3 meetings. So that is all taken care of. And now I have an opening statement that I would like to read. Good evening. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Nancy Yuska, Chair of the Tama County Board of Adjustment. Thank you for your attendance. We're gathered this evening because of the appeal that was filed in regard to the previous zoning administrator's extension of zoning certificate expiration dates for the Salt Creek Wind Project. I'm going to explain how the proceedings will occur tonight. The first agenda item regarding the appeal relates to a motion to intervene and joinder in the appeal that was filed by the Tama County Board of Supervisors. The appeal was originally filed by Tama County resident Beverly Espenscheid. The Tama County Board of Supervisors moved to intervene and to join her appeal. After that, Beverly Espenscheid filed a dismissal of her appeal. As a result, the Board of Adjustment first needs to determine whether the Tama County Board of Supervisors should be allowed to intervene and to join the appeal, or should the appeal be dismissed. Since this is a procedural matter, you will hear attorneys representing the Tama County Board of Supervisors and Salt Creek Wind LLC argue for allowing this intervention and joinder to occur. As soon as they finish their arguments, the Board of Adjustment will vote as to whether to permit the requested intervention and joinder by the Tama County Board of Supervisors. If the Board of Supervisors' motion is granted, we will hear the appeal, or if the motion is denied, the appeal will be considered dismissed. The Board of Adjustment votes in favor of allowing the Tama County Board of Supervisors to intervene and joinder in the appeal. The appeal itself will be heard. If the appeal is heard, the public hearing will occur in the following order. The Board of Supervisors attorneys will make an opening statement and present their case that is limited to 10 minutes. The former zoning administrator, Robert Vokoun, will explain his decision to grant the zoning permit extensions, and he is limited to 10 minutes. The former zoning administrator may then be questioned briefly by the Board of Supervisors and Salt Creek's legal counsel with regard to his decision. Salt Creek will then make an opening statement and present their case. That is limited to 10 minutes. Laura will then read any letters submitted to the zoning office speaking to the extension, followed by interested parties here tonight, and they will be allowed to speak to the issue before the Board of Adjustment with a 3-minute limit for each statement. The former zoning administrator will then be allowed rebuttal of no more than 5 minutes. Salt Creek will then be allowed rebuttal of no more than 5 minutes, and the Board of Supervisors will then be allowed rebuttal of no more than 5 minutes. After the public hearing ends, the Board of Adjustment will deliberate and vote on the appeal. In making their decision, our decision, the Board of Adjustment will have 3 options. The board may vote to affirm, modify, or reverse the decision of the previous zoning administrator. Passage of any option requires 3 votes in support. Although you are welcome to attend and participate in the meeting, please respect a few ground rules. If you wish to address the Board of Adjustment, please step to the podium to do so. Since we must have a record of the meeting, please start by giving your name and address and limit your comments to 3 minutes. The Board of Adjustment will not respond to uninvited comments offered from the audience, and we would ask you to please wait your turn to speak at the podium. The issue under consideration tonight is whether the extension of zoning certificate expiration dates was proper. Many of you may wish to discuss whether or not wind turbines should be constructed in Tama County, and that is an issue which may be addressed by the Board of Adjustment at a later date, but it is not an issue for this evening. If you speak, please address the issue as to whether the extension of expiration dates for the zoning certificates by the previous zoning administrator was proper. With that introduction, the Board of Adjustment will recognize the attorneys representing the Tama County Board of Supervisors to present arguments with regard to their motion for leave to intervene and joinder in the appeal that was filed by Beverly Espenscheid.
I've never been told I should be louder, but I understand sound doesn't very, very well. Can you hear me okay in the back of the room? Okay. Chairwoman Muska, members of the board, first, thank you very much. I do appreciate the opportunity to appear here on behalf of the Tama County Board of Supervisors, on behalf of residents of Tama County. We respect that this is a weeknight. We're devoting your time to this project and we thank you. It is, however, a very important issue. All of these issues are important, as reflected by the fact that you have beyond standing room only in this room. These issues do matter. I hope you won't hold it against me, but I grew up in a county that touches yours, county seat called Marengo, Iowa, just to your southeast. The environment in our counties matters. We care about where we live. And those are the issues that we're here to deal with today. Can we expect those coming in with large projects that will impact that quality of life to the roots? Very first question that you have to ask, to answer, is whether the County Board of Supervisors should be allowed to intervene. Do they have an interest in this matter? I start off telling you I grew up in Iowa County for a reason. Because the residents of the county have every interest in this matter. It is hard to imagine who has a greater interest in this matter. Thus, the supervisor's motion to intervene. I'm going to give you a very simple presentation, and it's simple because the issue is simple. We have a definition of what intervention is. I don't have to tell you that. You all know what intervention is. Coming before you to serve the race of residents of Tama County, to let their position be heard. In legal proceedings, intervention means a third party is permitted to become a party to an action between other parties. That's what the supervisors are seeking to do on behalf of the residents of this county. Intervention's purpose is to reduce litigation by involving as many interested persons as possible, expeditiously dispose of the matter. Intervention of right is what I think applies here. That's when a party must be allowed to intervene. Permissive intervention, don't find intervention as right, permissive intervention applies. The law grants an unconditional right to intervene. Where the intervener has interest relating to, it's available, I'm sorry, let me back up. It's available either where the law grants an unconditional right to intervene, or the intervener has an interest relating to the property or transaction that is the subject of the action, and how the action may impact the matter or improve the intervener's ability to protect that interest, unless otherwise adequately represented by somebody else. There's nobody else here. Tama County's interest. Tama County has an interest in all zoning for all properties situated within its jurisdiction. It almost goes without saying. The government clearly has an interest, a legitimate interest, in enforcing its laws and the opportunity to defend its laws through intervention. That should not be lightly cut off. Who said that? United States Supreme Court, just in 2022. That's the right that Tama County is seeking to assert. Intervention of right. If they have an interest in the property or transaction, Tama County has an interest in all properties within its border and in enforcing its law. Intervention of right is appropriate. The outcome may impact the intervener's ability to protect its interests. Who else is going to ensure the law is followed at this point? Intervener's interest is not represented by the existing parties. There is no other party. Every one of the bases for intervention as of right is satisfied. The court shall grant interventions of right unless the interest is adequately represented by existing parties, which is simply not the case. Permissive intervention. The law grants a conditional right to intervene, or there are common questions of law or facts between the main intervener's interest, or a party relies on government action as part of its claim or defense, in which case the government may intervene. Any one of these allows intervention. The law grants a conditional right. Well, Iowa Code Section 335.23 says that, in fact, Tama County, the Board of Supervisors may institute any appropriate action or proceeding. It is granted that right. Common questions of law or fact, they are the exact same issues of law and fact. Tama County Board of Supervisors wants to see its warrants. Again, checked. Government officials or agency can intervene if the party relies on action by government as part of a claim or defense. That's exactly what's going on here. The ordinances of Tama County are that issue. Supervisors wish to see that enforced. Yeah, it's checked. Courts considering whether interveners can continue an action for appeal, once the original party withdraws, quote, have consistently concluded that the intervener should be allowed to proceed. That's what courts say, that's what should happen. Tribunals should not dismiss an appeal simply because the original party appealing is unable or unwilling to proceed with the case. Particularly true when it is the representatives, the elected representatives of Tama County serving the rights of its residents. This is a simple issue. It is an important issue that your time consideration.
So, not to allow the intervention in gender.
Chuck, can you hear me back there? Okay.
We got thumbs up.
And, again, this is, gotta keep it close here. My name is Spencer Willens. I'm Dex Davis Brown. I'm here on behalf of Salt Creek. I appreciate council's comments, and I agree, this is a real simple issue, and I will try to keep it as short as I can. We provided you a binder up there with a number of exhibits that contain our written objections to this attempt to intervene in this proceeding. I'm not gonna read that verbatim. I'm gonna go over some of the highlights, some of the takeaways that I want you to consider before making your decision. So this appeal has been pending since late 2020. For 6 months. There's no need to get into the fits and starts, what took so long or why we're down here. Because frankly, we shouldn't even be here. Everyone should be at home right now, finishing their supper. We should not be here because the one person who submitted a timely and valid appeal of Bob Voku's December 13 granted extensions for those zoning certificates. As alluded to, she's already dismissed her appeal. In fact, she dismissed that appeal before this board could even schedule this hearing. We should not be here because once Deb Espenshire dismissed her challenge, there was no longer a valid legal dispute for you all to hear, to evaluate, and ultimately to rule upon. In legal speak, it's what we call jurisdiction. And right now, the board no longer has it. Going forward with a hearing to revoke something that was lawfully granted, when there's not even a valid challenge to that grant, doesn't make sense. It's not fair. And more importantly, going ahead as the Board of Supervisors has asked you to do, when this board lacks jurisdiction, is illegal. As a preliminary matter, the Board of Supervisors has no legal mechanism to intervene here. There were a number of slides with references to a rule you may have seen run past Iowa Rule of Civil Procedure 1.407, where it lays out various bullet points of what intervention can mean and will mean. Those rules don't apply here. We are here because the Tama County Board of Supervisors wants you to be here. We're here because the supervisors want to stand in Deb Espensire's shoes, but they don't have that authority and they don't have the right to do that. As it stands, the supervisors have no legal mechanism or legal means to step into Ms. Espensire's shoes and further this appeal. You want to know how I know that's true? Because I've read your county ordinance. And I've read this board's rules of procedure. There is no rule that allows for intervention or joinder, especially as the county sees here. Just as importantly, there is no Iowa court decision that would enable them to intervene and carry on the dispute here. Now, looking back up there, there were a number of italicized cases up there. There was a U.S. Supreme Court case and a couple other cases floating. But they're not Iowa cases. They don't apply Iowa law. More importantly, they weren't considering whether a party could intervene, late I might add, to an administrative hearing. The only Iowa case that did come up there was the Nichols case, which, if the esteemed board were to take a further look at, plainly states that intervention does not exist at the common law. It is a creature of statute. Board of Supervisors cannot point to a statute that allows them to intervene here. Now, what's real odd is that this board has been asked before to allow a board of supervisors to intervene in an appeal of a zoning administrator's decision. Person asking then was Supervisor Heather Neville. In 2022, before she was a supervisor, she did what Bev Espenshine did. She didn't like a decision made by the zoning administrator, and she appealed. And the board of supervisors at that time, they wanted to intervene, much like the board here. Ms. Neville asked this very body, differently constituted, of course, to refuse to allow that. In doing so, she wrote, neither the Code of Iowa nor the Tama County zoning ordinance provide a right for any party, including the board of supervisors, to intervene in an appeal initiated by another party. Candidly, the rules, Iowa rules of civil procedure simply don't apply or govern here. The county ordinance does, and the counties and your own rules of procedure govern here. Claiming intervention under the Iowa rules of civil procedure, as the county has, is trying to hang a hat on a non-existent hook. There's just no mechanism. It simply doesn't work. Moreover, the board's effort to intervene here is also untimely. And I agree with council, this one is real simple. Section 2102 of the Tama County Ordinance says that anyone looking to challenge a decision by the zoning administrator, or as it's written, administrative officer, has to submit their appeal or complaint within 30 days of the action complaint. You have that, they're pretty simple, and they're clear for a reason. Fairness. The reason we have statutes of limitations, like this 30-day limit, is to let individuals know what their rights are, or potentially when those rights may be challenged. These are hard deadlines, and they're treated hard by Iowa law. And you know why? Because in Iowa, we expect people with a grievance or a legal concern to step up and raise it when they have. You lose it or you lose it. Otherwise, how many years does someone have to sit at their home, at their business, on their property and wonder, well, if someone doesn't like this, what's to stop them from suing? What's to stop them from intervening? The supervisors did not attempt to formally get involved in this dispute until May 25th. That's more than 6 months after Ms. Espenshine filed her timely appeal, and far more than 6 months after Bob granted the extensions to these zoning certificates. Board of Supervisors missed their window, and they know it. Now you know. And now they are asking you to ignore the very county ordinances they're claiming to be here to enforce. That doesn't sound like a party trying to do their job. That sounds like they want a do-over. Iowa law and the Tama County ordinances don't provide for a do-over. For these reasons, as well as those contained in our written materials submitted with the board, this board should deny supervisor's request to intervene and join this case. This case should be done tonight. Thank you.
Well, we have a decision to make. Ms. Anderson, sorry. Mr. Henderson has given us language if we'd like to use it, or you could, make your motion outside of, his suggested, the suggestions that he made to us, excuse me. So, I'll open it up. I mean, I could, entertain a motion. I guess I'll wait to see if, anyone wants to make a motion, one way or the other. I interview. Okay,
I move to deny the Tama County Board of Supervisors motion for intervention and joinder in the appeal filed by Beverly Espenshine for the Relief Society I saw previously.
I'll second that motion.
So we have a motion and a second. Now I am gonna, do a roll call alphabetically. You okay with all this, Lori? Yeah, did anyone, we could have a discussion and Berlin made the motion. Would you like to further comments?
Sure.
This has nothing to do with whether I approve of wind energy or disapprove. It is all down to the legal question. The board of supervisors could have, well, actually, not sure they. This is 6 months later, so that's been shy had the ability to file that. He has dismissed that. I mean, I'm not sure if this is a tag team. I'm a little confused by why the board of supervisors has come into this so late in the process. My concern is that if we don't stop it here and it continues on, all of these questions get put in front of a jury who does not have our emotion involved, and they're gonna really just look at the facts and go, I don't understand why this is happening. So we're emotional. But another jury wouldn't be, and that can just get super expensive, and I'm not sure why they would think that what was trying to happen here would be okay, so those are my thoughts.
Okay, so again, I am gonna have a roll call alphabetically, by last name to see, and the motion, I believe, Berlin made was, I move to deny the Tama County Board of Supervisors motion for intervention and joinder in the appeal filed by Beverly Espenscheid for all the reasons cited by Salt Creek's legal counsel. So if you vote aye or yes, you are agreeing with that motion and second. If you vote no, you are not agreeing with that. So we will start with Mike
Yes.
and Nancy Joe
No,
and John
No.
and Berlin. And my vote is a no. So that motion was unsuccessful. So I will now entertain a motion to grant the Tama County Board of Supervisors motion for intervention and joinder in the appeal that was previously filed by Beverly Espenscheid. All the reasons cited by the Board of Supervisors legal counsel. Would anyone like to make that motion? Nancy will second. And John, would you like to make any comments?
No, I think it's.
Okay. No comments necessary. So we will have another roll call alphabetically. Mike,
No.
Nancy Joe,
yes,
John,
Yes.
my vote is a yes. That motion carried. Yes, it was approved. So now we will move into the appeal hearing. Board of Supervisors attorneys will make an opening statement and present their cases. 10 minutes.
I don't know what phone.
Is it something you need to go out right now?
I don't know. Where's Casey at? There.
Sure, we have a question from our.
Is Jim, he's not driving out there?
No, we were just making sure that we had the right area where.
Oh, okay, okay,
So
got it.
she's good.
Yeah, all right,
I'm sorry,
Let them drive.
okay.
Mr. Ray.
Thank you
Sorry.
very much. No, not at all. There are pressing matters beyond this. First, thank you for hearing the voices of Tama County in addressing this issue. And they are
Need the microphone?
I'm trying. Can you hear me now? Okay, I'm sorry, you couldn't see me fumble with the button there. So thank you so much for your time on what are exceptionally important issues. Council for Salt Creek made some important points. Deadlines matter. They exist for a reason. Now, the deadline was met for this appeal by somebody else, or supervisors intervened. But there was another deadline at issue, and that was the deadline to start this project, not finish it, just to start it. And there are reasons for deadlines. There is a particular one in Tama County ordinances. Except where an extension of time has been obtained in writing from the administrative officer, certificates hereafter issued shall expire in 90 days if a substantial beginning has not been made in the construction. 90 days to start. That is one of those important deadlines. There are reasons for that, to ensure that the parties are prepared and ready when they first appear to stop inconvenience to neighbors, to avoid changes in circumstances, to avoid changes in views and desires of the residents of this county. All those things matter, and all of those things exist here. There is a reason to start within 90 days. An extension can be granted. It can. It says it right in the rules. But how far can that go? And that is the question you are here to answer today. June 3rd, 2022, the first extension request comes along. It is common for construction to take between 9 and 18 months to complete, not start. Remember, there's 90 days to start. They told you, Salt Creek told you, 9 to 18 months to complete this project. They said, but give us an extension. And they got that extension. They asked for 26 months. Dramatic extension beyond what was anticipated, just out of the gates. They were given. They should have used it. That was approved. New expiration date, August 22, 2024. May 2024, they come along and they request another extension. Now, instead of 9 to 18 months, they say, oh no, it's 18 months now. 18 months to complete this. Why is it growing? They not do the homework that your ordinances require to allow them to start within 90 days? Apparently not. Because the numbers are changing, the extensions are further out, and they say this is an abundance of caution that they seek this extension. An abundance of caution should be enough, should it not? Approved. New deadline is November 20th, 2024. Notice we made this look a little bit like a rubber stamp. And next, June 2022, zoning certificate approval. Instead of the 90 days Tama County law allows, Salt Creek was granted extensions of 902 days. More than 10 times what the law of Tama County contemplates. 10 times, not to complete. It's a big project. Merely to get started. 10 times. Rather than 3 months, 2 years, 5 months, and 18 days. More than 10 times what the law contemplates. So did Salt Creek finish its project in the time and abundance of caution said it would? No. They came forward and they surrendered their zoning certificates on August 21, 2024. They thought by doing so, they could start the clock again. They're playing games because they weren't ready. They didn't respect the laws of Tama County and the expectations of Tama County. 16 days later, further do-over for Salt Creek Council. That's exactly what they want. Give us the do-over. We didn't get it done like the law said we should. We'll just file our certificates again. Give us the do-over. Somebody did. Zoning administrator. September 6th, 2024. Remember, they surrendered them on August 21st. Just a few days later, they're back. Yet more time. Whom did they seek that do-over? And I say this not lightly, but it is important that the members of the public have confidence in you and all the administrators they are not biased and that they are going to try to behave fairly. But this was an active advocate from whom they sought this extension. It was a losing supervisor candidate who actively advocated for wind farms. He had shown up at multiple Board of Supervisors meetings saying he wanted these wind farms. He was appointed zoning administrator immediately after voters rejected him as a supervisor candidate. Is that the appearance of propriety that we want?
But I'm not gonna stop my neighbors.
You hear that voice? That's Mr. Vokoun telling on January 30th of 2023, he's never going to stop his neighbors from doing this. Let's play it again. Came as a surprise, and I'm sorry to jar you there, Chairwoman, but here it comes again.
Not gonna stop my neighbors.
Not gonna stop my neighbors from doing it. And that's about the tone of voice you heard. Angry Mr. Vokoun saying he's not gonna stop it. He surely did not. After they'd already had 902 days to start, he gave them 365 more. How is that consistent with the intent of the statute? This same person also ignored that the zoning certificate applications overwhelmingly differ from the conditional use. He did. You may already have seen it. But he came before this very board. Two of you sat on the board at the time, and he said, but advice of counsel, the lawyer said, this is okay. Steph, you know what? The lawyer didn't say that. When we get into this case, we go to the emails and the text and we find this. In the future, if you have not specifically relied on the advice of counsel, do not testify that you have relied on the advice of counsel. Good advice there, tell the truth. That's not what he told you, not what he told this board, which is trying to do the best it can to make the best decision. He misrepresented that he was relying on the advice of counsel, that lawyer had checked this. Lawyer had to check. In fact, that lawyer says, you should explore that further. Come back to you and say, you should explore that further. He approved 365-day extension. 4 years, 6 months, 10 days since the conditional use permit was approved. 2 years, 11 months, 27 days since the zoning certificates were approved. 9 months, 2 days since September 22, when the zoning certificates were approved. Tama County laws say 90 days. This was excessive error with abuse of discretion. Notre Dame burned in France, the cathedral in the 13th century in 2019. It reopened just recently. They were able to do that before Salt Creek would even get started on its turbines when your statutes say days. All the things that have happened, it seems like almost ancient history that COVID-19 was flourishing in 2020. Look at all that has passed. They still haven't. While it is true that the power to grant exceptions is broad, its exercise is not without some limitations. And not exceeding the term of the ordinance. Granting another year after Salt Creek already had gone 10 times. In other words, he's granted them 15 times after he told you he's not going to stop his neighbors. Residents of Tama County have a right to better from their officials. That is not consistent with the ordinance. It is an abuse of discretion. It exceeds his authority, and it is an error. It should not have happened.
Now, Robert Vokoun will explain his decision to grant the zoning permit extensions. He's allowed 10 minutes.
Nancy.
Did you say? I'm sorry, no, it's Bob Vokoun.
I don't need microphone.
Well,
I'm sure they'll be able to hear me. I'm gonna be done now. So, probably use longer than 10 minutes. I like all these little attacks that come, play the whole thing. Yeah, I said, yeah, I'm not gonna stop my neighbors from doing something. But when we had the discussion, it was because I'm not gonna stop my neighbors from doing something that's legal just because I may not like it or somebody else doesn't. Yeah, I don't have a wind turbine. I'm not going to have a wind turbine. I'm not going to stop my neighbor from having one if they are following the code, which is what they are doing. This has been a big mess from the start. What I did was I followed code. And it's in the letter that I presented. And that's self-explanatory. All the money that was involved, all the money that was invested, all the work that was done. I followed code. Yes, I had one attorney because I didn't ask him specifically, but I talked with others and there were always denied. So that's fine. I know all these tricks. I was a police officer over 37 years before I retired. I've run into all this stuff. I'm used to it. You know, play the whole thing. A lot of times they don't get the whole story. Fine, you're doing your job. You're spending our taxpayers' money. This has all been a big spending of money for everybody, for Tama County, and it's gonna get worse. You know, I'm sorry, but I followed the code. If there would have been a way to deny it, like I told Dolan and Knievel, I would have denied it, so I wouldn't have to listen to their crap. And that's just what it is. It's crap all the time. They have a personal agenda. I've got 3 members on the Board of Adjustment that are involved with TCAT, and there's a lot of personal agendas going. There shouldn't be. There should be neutral. I went neutral. Maybe I don't care about the wind turbines and I don't care to have them, but I am not going to tell my neighbors and other people that they can't. They're allowed to go. If there was a code that says that they couldn't have it and this wasn't allowed, it wouldn't have been allowed. And if council would have advised me that we can't allow this, I wouldn't have allowed it. Plain and simple. This is a simple case. I'm sorry if some of you are pissed off about the decision, but it's a decision that has to be made and you have to follow the code. And that's what I've stressed when the new person was taking over. Make sure you follow the code. I see a lot of things coming down the pipe here where you're gonna have a lot of lawsuits, and the county's gonna lose a lot of money, and it's too bad. People need to start standing up for their rights and quit being silent. You have 15, 30 people coming, complaining all the time. I'm sorry that you don't like wind turbines. The ones in the future are probably stopped. But as far as phase 1 and maybe phase 2, you gotta see what happens. Phase 1's going, I'm sorry. You can sit here and argue it all you want. It's self-explanatory. Anybody wants to read it, $1 billion involved. And I could not turn them down. I'm sorry. If I could have, I would. So like I say, I wouldn't have to listen to the crap from the supervisors. And I'm sorry, but none of the 5 of them I can really trust after all of this stuff that's been going on. I'm tired of the lies. I'm tired of the bickering. I'm tired of the back and forth crap between everybody and the dishonesty. I've had enough, and a lot of people have had enough, and they're gonna start speaking up. I'm sorry, this gentleman's doing his job, but play the whole thing. Yeah, I made the comment. Tell about the rest of it, what was involved in the conversation. I'm tired of this trick. You guys can sit there and smile and laugh about it, but you all ought to be getting tired of it. There's a lot of crap that goes on. You're turning families against families, and it should be. Got neighbors and stuff that have different things that I get along with just fine. And we don't care if one likes something or the other one doesn't. We get along just fine. John is a big opponent. We're neighbors, we're friends. I don't have any problem with John outside of any of this. He's a good example of a guy that I can talk to and we have nice conversations, his brother and family, and we always have and we always will. He can have his opinion. That's no reason for me to hate him. Doesn't agree with me, I'm not gonna hate him. That's his right. I think things get a little bit too carried away sometimes. Stuff needs to come to a stop. Questions?
You might want to just wait because I think the next item is that you may then be questioned by Board of Supervisors and so it's legal.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Madam Chairman. Can everybody still hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, very good. Mr. Rowe, correctly?
Yes, that's great.
Very good. And I'm going to ask Ms. Bernizer to give you some documents here in case you have any
questions on them. Mr. Raccoon, is it fair to say you have some strong feelings about this?
I don't like all the arguing. It's ridiculous. And the bickering back and forth, the one-sided stuff, my opinion as well as others, we ended up with board members and people on boards, which that's politics. They get voted in, they have a personal agenda. The stuff needs to stop.
Did you use the word crap?
Yes, I did, and I was being nice.
Sir,
I was being nice.
you feel strongly enough that you felt the need to interrupt me as I asked that question?
That's correct, I do.
Okay, you have pretty strong feelings. Do you think the folks here in this county have a right to have you look at this impartially?
I do look at it partially.
How many meetings do you show up before the board of supervisors to support Win in this county?
I was at several, and I was not just supporting Wynn, I was supporting everybody.
What lawyers did you discuss this with?
I can't even remember all the names. I discussed, things with our county attorney and with the attorneys that are involved with the, I'm sorry, I can't think of the word of it,
Fair enough.
for the, multiple counties.
Have you talked to Salt Creek's lawyers?
Yes,
Did you talk to them leading up to this hearing, sir?
yes. I talk with anybody.
Sir, you did run in the primaries to be a Tama County supervisor, correct?
Yeah, so what?
And you had pretty strong words for Ms. Knibbel here today, didn't you? Again, the word crap came out of your mouth 4 times, didn't it?
Well, yes, you know, you're coming across, you know, in court, everything, I'm a candidate, and I really didn't try that hard. I got asked to run. I put up a few signs. I really didn't care. I told Miss Knibbel immediately, I said, well, you're gonna win this thing, so, you know, be ready to represent.
Losing candidate only means you lost, and you did, didn't you?
Yeah, it was a vote.
Almost 2-1, right?
I don't recall what the numbers were. There was very poor voter turnout. And I really don't care.
You're not to run.
I ran because people asked me to, and I said, okay, I will.
And sir,
If you look, I really didn't try that hard.
fair enough. And sir, you did say you were not going to stop your neighbors from putting up wind farms, didn't you?
Not when it's legal. I'm not going to stop them just because I don't want one or don't care for them.
I guess that's the question here today. Is it legal? Did you exceed your authority? Do you understand that?
I don't believe I exceeded my authority.
I understand. But that was your voice we heard saying, I'm not gonna stop my neighbors from the Senate.
That's correct. The rest of the conversation.
We'll get to some more conversations in a moment here. Sir, before you granted that year-long extension, you had already said publicly you weren't gonna stop Salt Creek from putting up these winter farms.
I'm not stopping them when there's no legal reason to do so.
You had said that before you granted that year-long extension, correct?
I don't recall. I made several comments and I'm not going to stop them when there's no legal reason not to.
Did Salt Creek surrender its permits to construct wind turbines in Tama County on August 21, 2024?
Somewhere in there they did.
You want to look at Exhibit 5, it's right in front of you. See that? August 21, 2024, there's
It's
surrender.
stated up there and it says surrender.
And sir, those zoning certificates have been issued clear back in June of 2022, haven't they?
That was before my time. I don't know what the exact date was on there.
But we can certainly agree they had a long time to start those projects, can't we?
I don't recall what the date was. Do you have one that shows the date?
Well, I guess,
I'm sure I could take your word for it if you're saying that. But
you want to look at Exhibit 1? June 3 of 2022. With me.
yep, that's what's dated.
But when you're looking at whether you should grant them even more time, isn't that information you should know?
Yes, I was given all the information. This was given to Todd Apple.
And it had been over 2 years without starting any construction on any of those permits, hadn't it?
I believe there was a bunch of litigation involved in that. I'm not sure all it was.
So past 2 years.
That's the way it looks here.
And sir, you don't have any reason to disagree with my number that Salt Creek had already had 900 days to start this project before you granted that 1 year extension, do you?
Like I say, that was before my time, whatever you say the time was, that's what we'll go with.
No, but one would think you should have looked at that, shouldn't you?
They had applied for the new permits, the permits were surrendered. I had, the new permits were issued. And then those extensions were given on those new permits. It had nothing to do with the old.
And sir, you did grant them new permits, correct?
Yes,
And you feel that granted them another 90 days to start, is that right?
yes, that's, what the permits allow.
Be pretty careful granting the new permits then, if you can't grant them a whole dual version, shouldn't you?
Oh, I granted them when I was allowed to grant them. They were granted the permit, the extension, they invited me.
Sir, you asked me to provide some other testimony. Ms. Bernice, can you pull up, flip two?
Did you notice this different set of EE 2.82.127 model that they were proposing?
Oh, models on here, no.
Can you compare the model listed here to the models that were not covered?
To the old ones.
I think correct. One of the models that were listed as potential models in the cover.
I referred those questions to council.
That's you saying you referred those questions about the turbine models to council, isn't it, sir?
I referred all of the questions concerning cups and stuff, if they were valid, to other council.
We'll come back to that in a moment. And that's the council that you weren't able to identify. Correct.
Yes, I talked to several during time.
And in fact, you said you relied on the lawyer to compare the model numbers between the permit and the zoning certificate, didn't you?
I apologize, and I don't have a microphone, so I'll speak as loud as possible. My name is Sarah Franklin, attorney for Salt Creek Wind. There's a lot of questions about the original grant of the zoning certificates, which occurred and were affirmed by this board in November of 2024. We are here today to talk about the extensions that were granted by Mr. Vilcoon in December of 2024, and it is our position that all of this discussion about a matter that has already been decided by this board is inappropriate.
Madam Chairwoman, they can make that record, but under this proceeding, there were to be no objections. Further, this goes to bias and credibility, which is very much at issue, and whether the public has the right to have faith in the unbiased review.
And I would just point out that the rules of procedure adopted by this board specifically permit the board to exclude irrelevant evidence.
Again, we won't spend a lot of time on it, but this board has a right to know that this witness previously said things that were simply not true.
I'll let you continue.
Thank you. So can we play that clip, Ms. Bernice?
Did they tell you they're going to be using a different model than what was in the cover?
As far as, I was just given the model that's on the permits. Certificate application.
So as part of your process of going through the permit application, did you evaluate whether they were consistent with what was disclosed in the job?
That again was referred to council. There's any issues with the cups. And issuing.
That's again you, sir, isn't it?
Yep, and that's what I said. I referred that to other council. If there was anything else that, anything to do with the cups or anything that I'm missing, any reason that these should be denied.
Ms. Bernice, can we listen to the last one, please?
As far as the models, I refer those questions to council to make sure that everything is correct and is appropriate for the zoning.
Sir, as I understand your testimony there, you're saying, well, you didn't look at it, but you sent it to council just to make sure it was all okay. So this could go.
I asked about the cups, if everything was okay with the cups.
Can you look at exhibit 6 in front of you, sir, and Ms. Bernice, can you pull that one up? Sir, there was a lawyer sitting with you during that proceeding named Mr. Lighting, wasn't there?
Yep, and we had a discussion about this afterwards, that it wasn't referring to him, it was other people. Yeah, I don't remember who they were, I'm sorry. We talked to several different ones, and we had a discussion about that.
Mr. Leidinger says, hey, you know, you gotta tell the truth, didn't he?
And I did. I didn't refer him to him, so there was a misunderstanding there. We discussed that.
He also did say you really ought to look at whether it's the same turbine model, didn't he?
I don't recall.
Oh, it says it right there.
That's,
Yellow.
there was a discussion about the cups, and I referred that to others because there was a big discussion as whether the cups are valid or not.
So I guess the question I have is, did you go back before the Board of Adjustment and say, hey, the lawyer's telling me we should be looking at this? That it's different turbine models? Bring that up after the lawyer sends you this email saying that's an important issue?
I don't believe I talked to the board about that.
And sir,
That was, determined in the hearing too, at Clayton Board, that wasn't an issue. Because model numbers changing and everything. That was a big argument that was taken care of. So again, you know, play the whole thing.
I did play, you saying that you relied on the lawyer for that and.
Right, and if you play the whole, if you had the whole discussion in there about, the decision on what it was about the cups and the turbine models and everything, and how it basically come down to it wasn't making a difference because of the thing that, how things change as time goes on.
Given that you spoke with Salt Creek's lawyers, maybe they'll have that. Okay?
No idea.
All right. And sir, after all of that, when you appeared before the Board of Adjustment and said, hey, the lawyer signed off on this, Salt Creek came before you and said, we want a whole additional year after that 900+ days just to get started, right?
Yeah, whatever it was,
And
I granted it.
you absolutely did. You got out your staff and you said it, didn't you?
After I discussed things with attorneys,
Yeah.
I went over.
You have any correspondence from any attorneys saying, yeah, I did tell you that? And we have the one that's from the attorney that said, no, I didn't.
Nope, I don't have anything here unless you do.
Thank you very much.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. People hear me in the back? Thank you. So now that I have the microphone, I'll introduce myself to everyone. My name is Sarah Franklin. I am an attorney for Salt Creek. You a liar, Bob?
Pardon me?
You a liar?
No,
You lied to this board before?
no,
You lying to this board now?
no,
You
not at
lied,
all.
you lying to me?
No,
You lie to council?
no.
I want to talk about this, they've been calling you an advocate for wind projects. Are you an advocate for wind projects?
No, not at all. I'm for what's right. I'm for both sides. Both sides come up with good points. And they've been told that before. I try to be neutral on it and follow the code. That's what's very important, is to follow the code. It doesn't matter if I don't like something. If it's permissible and it's allowed by law, I have to approve.
You said you followed the code. So I want to talk about just the extensions. That's what we're here about. I think we all agree we're here about the extensions. So in the board's binder at Exhibit 1, and Ms. Raccoon, I'm going to hand you this, but this is a letter that you would have received on December 6th. You remember getting that letter?
Yes.
And this letter is from another attorney in my office, and this is requesting an extension rather.
Yes, that shows the extension, request. It also gives a project schedule and everything that as well.
What did you do?
I read through, the letter. Conferred with, the county attorney,
And tell us who the county attorney is.
Brent Herron.
You talked to Brent a lot?
Yes,
Talked to him about your job as zoning administrator?
yes,
Talked to him about this extension request?
yes.
Okay. So you got the letter, you talked to the county attorney. What'd you do next?
I followed procedure, went through.
There were discussions between myself and Salt Creek, of course.
And let me ask you this, when somebody submitted a permit, when you were a zoning administrator, was it typical for you to talk to the person that submitted the permit?
Oh, yes, certainly.
Why would you do that?
Any questions I may have and be able to touch base and make sure they don't have any.
Okay. So this wasn't Salt Creek getting special treatment, right?
No, not at all.
Treat everybody that submitted a permit request or zoning certificate request to you this way?
Yes, I ask questions, go through things. Some. And we just have to be able to go over some things, ask a few questions, get it taken care of. Others, you'd have to wait for information and so on.
Okay, so you got the letter, you talked to the county attorney. You talked to Salt Creek. What else did you do?
Also conferred with other attorneys in the risk pool, that was the word I was looking for.
Risk pool, yeah, so that's essentially, you don't remember those names, right?
No, I don't.
But why would you be talking to attorneys?
To make sure I'm not missing anything and see if there's any reason, there again, any reason that anything could be denied or should be denied.
Did you ever look at the Tama County ordinances when you were doing your job as zoning administrator?
Yes,
Why'd you look at those?
see if everything was compliant.
So why grant the extension?
There were numerous reasons and.
Letter in front of you, it's the December 13th, 2024 letter, right?
Correct.
So tell us, and I'll tell the board, this is exhibit 2, Salt Creek Wind exhibit 2. It's a 2-page letter. I'm not gonna have you read it. The board has it. But tell us why you granted these extension requests.
Just briefly, there have been a number of reasons. There were, for example, engineering services, $6 million. Executing leases, 53,565 plus some change. 1.8 million down payment. Procurement, 15 million initial payment for turbines, to date. To date, the final, commitment to the project, construction was 26 million. That's addition to significant sums that they previously spent. So. For the extension. Produce that for what their plans were for construction.
Yeah, so what you just held up, that's a timeline that was attached with the letter initially requesting the extensions, right?
Correct.
Did you look at that when you made this decision?
Yes, I did, and I remember calling, Kimberly and asking questions about that as far as how accurate that was and ifs and what may delay that or what may make it, ahead of schedule, so.
And you mentioned Kimberly, so that's Kimberly Dickey with Salt Creek Wind, right?
Correct.
And is that typical process you would follow where you're calling somebody that submits an application to you?
Yes.
Are you treating Salt Creek Wind any different?
No, not at all. I had questions and, needed to ask.
Talk about this substantial beginning. So the ordinance requires 90 days for the zoning certificate holder to make a substantial beginning. You
Correct.
remember that? This bottom paragraph of exhibit 2, you sort of outline your understanding of the expenditures and the costs that had been incurred to date. Do you see that?
Yes,
Is it your understanding that all of that had happened prior to December of 2025 or 2024 rather?
yes, they were working on the driveways and all kinds of things that a person can't see.
Yep.
It's, kind of like when you're building a house until it's up, you can't see everything going on and all of the stuff that goes on before that.
Yeah, and this letter that you received requesting the extension talks about gonna be on that first page. Very bottom paragraph.
On exhibit 1, you're talking, correct? I'm sorry.
Here, let me show you. This paragraph right here, the bit for the board's, I'll say it's the very last paragraph of the first page of Salt Creek Winds Exhibit 1.
Yeah, I talked about the, background and the current status of the project.
Yep, and it says that, construction has commenced at all 61 certificate sites, right?
Yes,
And those are the zoning certificate sites, right?
yes,
Says that 32 access road approaches have been completed, right?
yes,
And it says that my client expects to complete access on all 61 right?
yes,
And you had all that information when you decided to grant these extensions, right?
yes.
When you looked at the code section about extensions, did it put any limits on the amount of extensions you could provide?
No, I don't believe that did. It, as long as they were showing that they were making progress, there was nothing that said anything about limits on the extension.
And did you believe that Salt Creek Wind was making progress when you got these extension requests in December 2024?
Yes, I mean, I could see physically things were being done. And then, with them submitting the costs and everything, that showed the significant amount of money that had been invested in the project.
Council for Salt Creek, or I'm sorry, Council for the Board of Supervisors, seemed to imply that you were unhappy you lost the election.
Absolutely not. I could have cared less about the election. Talk to people that know me and stuff, they knew I really didn't care. I could care less.
Did you take your time in deciding whether or not to grant these extension requests?
Yes, I certainly did. I wanted to go over things and make sure that it was proper and that there was, again, make sure that there wasn't any reason to deny them, something that I wasn't aware of or anything. I mean, you would hear all kinds of arguments about cuts and everything. That had been decided. That was all done, taken care of. That was not an issue. It is not an issue this evening.
Thank you. I appreciate your time today.
Salt Creek will now make an opening statement and present their case. Yes.
Baba, you don't have to say nothing.
Yeah, I'm just gathering stuff here to take back here.
Thank you. Again, appreciate everyone's time. I'll try to be as respectful of your time as possible. My name again, Sarah Franklin. I'm an attorney for Salt Creek Wind. I agree with council. We are here on an important issue. The number of people in this room speaks to how important this is to this community. We respect that. We understand that. But what you are here to do is to answer a very narrow question. Council spent a lot of time talking about what happened in 2022 and 2023 with old zoning certificates. We don't dispute that those were abandoned by Salt Creek. What we are here today is to decide whether the extensions granted by this go look in your binder at tab 5, and this is going to be the Salt Creek Wind binder. We have tried to give you the 2 code sections that we think are relevant to this decision. I've spent a lot of time reading the Tama County ordinances. I grew up in Cedar Rapids over in Lynn County, so I'm always happy to be over in Eastern Iowa. Had never had the opportunity to read y'all's ordinances before, but I have limited to these 5 pages that I think are relevant to you. If you look on page 2 of Exhibit 5, at the very top, you will see section 2005. Talks about issuance of certificates. The administrative officer, that was Bob back in 2024, shall issue within 7 days of the completed application, a written zoning certificate. It says of, I think we all agree it means or granted these zoning certificates back in 2024. There was an appeal. That appeal was heard by this board in November of 2025, and his decision was affirmed. It then says, specifically contemplates an extension of time if a substantial beginning hasn't been made in 90 days, or if the project cannot be completed within 1 year. I have spent a lot of time reading this section, a lot of time. It is one short paragraph. What I have never seen in this paragraph is anything that limits the amount of time that an extension can be for. Now, I understand from Madam Chairman that you all have the ability to modify the extension, and that is your prerogative, but there is nothing in this section that limits the amount of time that an extension can be granted. I'm gonna have you turn a couple more pages on page 4 of 5. And this is really, I think, the most important thing. Section 21 of this board jurisdiction. So this board being you all, 5 people who volunteered for this important role. It said the board shall have the following powers and authority, section 2103.1, to hear and decide an appeal where it is alleged there is error in any, I'm going to shortcut some words, decision made by the administrative officer. I understand that the Board of Supervisors do not like these extensions. I understand that they want to stop this project. I understand that they will stop functionally at nothing to stop this project. There are any number of lawsuits pending at the courthouse across the street about this project. But your job here today is very narrow. Your job is to decide whether Bob made an error in granting these zoning certificate extensions. It is our position that he did not. He walked you through his process. He treated this like he would any other one. He met with the developer, met with the person that submitted the request. Made a decision. Tama County ordinances provide for 2 things. They specifically provide for CWEX, for this commercial wind energy development, and they provide for extensions to be granted. You have to read those in harmony. You have to both understand that your zoning administrator is allowed to grant extensions, and your zoning code, your ordinances allow for commercial wind development. The last thing I'm going to ask you to look at is going to be at Exhibit 1. The very last page of that is project timeline. The council wants to talk about what did or didn't happen in 22, in 23. I don't think there's any question that since the winter of 2024, Salt Creek has been out there constructing this project. The timeline that you have in front of you shows why Salt Creek asked for a 2-year extension. Significant amounts of money have been spent in this county to develop this project. It is simply not possible for a commercial wind energy conversion system, which is permitted under the statute, to be completed in the timeframes, which is why this extension provision exists. It's why Mr. Vokum granted the extension, and it's why we ask you to affirm his decision. There has been absolutely no evidence or testimony that he committed error in any way. They don't like the decision, that's fine, but it is your job to decide whether Bob made an error, and he did not. Thank you.
Thank you. Now Laura will read letters that have been submitted to the zoning office speaking to the extension.
I did that for everybody.
All right, are we on? Okay. There were 3 that were submitted to me that specifically mentioned extensions. There were 2 others that did not mention extensions. One was vaguely pro and one was vaguely con. Those will be on file if you would like to do those later, but for tonight, we're keeping it to the ones that specifically mentioned extensions. The first one was Lori Johnson. I am writing in regards to the zoning board meetings tonight. I've been confused with the windmill process as to how the new owners don't have to reapply for zoning permits. For example, we built a shed on our property after the Drake show. We had to obtain a permit since we were the new owners. My mom was a previous owner. She didn't have to obtain the permit. How can a permit transfer from a previous owner to a new owner without having to reprocess the information to make sure everything is up to code, especially since the process started over 14 years ago. Therefore, I do not believe any extensions should be allowed. The second one I have is from David Padaski. He simply states, I wish the extension for Salt Creek Wind to be extended and continue to complete the projects. And then the third one I have is from Chris Behrens. Thank you for your time and service on this matter. I'm particularly concerned about the outdated wildlife studies and insufficient financial assurances included in the current decommissioning plans for this project. There should be no extensions granted for the zoning certificates related to the erection of these turbines. The original conditional use permit was issued in 2020 and is based on data and studies that are now outdated. Granting an extension to a project that has seen substantial amendments and is no longer supported by current information would undermine the intent and integrity of our zoning ordinances. To proceed with an extension under these circumstances would not only be irresponsible, but all the available services.
Thank you.
Now leave the microphone on, all right?
Okay, now there's gonna be time allowed for interested parties that will be allowed to speak 3 minutes each. And did you say you had a sign-up sheet, or you wanted the correct spelling of anyone's name?
Yes, unfortunately, some of you signed your names, so I still can't read them. If you come up to comment, please print so that I have them for record. I'll go down the name list. If anyone did not get a chance to sign in and would like to comment, or if you signed in and changed your mind that you don't want to comment, you don't have to come up. We'll go in order and then we'll add anybody at the end that has decided they do want to comment now, okay? First up is, if you could come up here with the microphone. You don't have to stand behind the podium. Please do not lean on it. It is not structurally sound or weight bearing.
Yes, my name is Richard Art from Dyson. People of this county and the state live by rules and laws. It was evident at the court case a couple weeks ago that all the building permits that were approved by Bob Bokun had huge differences in what is proposed right now for construction. What scares me is the change in where the electric lines are to be laid. What happens 20 years down the line when someone wants to lay tile? Please vote to revoke the permits until all the T's are crossed and the I's are dotted in this permit process. Thank you.
Sorry, Kendall and Lynn Staker. You like to comment? No? Okay. Jan and Shirley Taylor? No comment. All right. Jim Smith.
We just
Give me a second.
passed the mic.
Yeah.
I said.
Yep.
Thanks.
Should be on track.
Hello, everybody hear me? I'm Jim Smith, a lifelong resident of Tama County. Contractor has done no construction work on wind turbines for over 2 years. And also their decommissioning contract, and this is important for all the people who sign easements for wind turbines. For Salt Creek 1 expires in the summer of 2026. That's approximately 1 year from now, with no plans for an extension of the decommissioning contract that we are aware of. There may be one, but no one has mentioned it yet. And I would be afraid of having someone put a turbine on my property and the decommissioning contract not extended through the life of the turbine. And then the question is, who is responsible for the decommissioning and removal? If, but it's no longer whereas there is no contract. I hope to repeal I hope you repeal or revoke permit extension. Thank you.
All right. Kurt Byrne.
Yeah, my name's Kurt Byrne, and, yes, I am a permit holder for Salt Creek Wind Turbines, family farm, 6 generations, and there will be wind turbines on a farm. That is my right, my family's right as landowners. And I think that you should, disprove or dismiss this case, against, for not continuing the permits. It was mentioned by the attorney, for the board of supervisors. He was basically accusing, Mr. Bocoon as being someone that was for turbines, but then this position. And I appointed to the board. So even if he was for him, which he said he wasn't, and I believe him, I've known him for 40 years. And he's a guy who'll give his own dad a ticket if he was speeding. So he's not gonna lie. So there's a conflict of interest, in my opinion, with the Board of Adjustment, because they were all anti-wind when this whole thing started, against it. And I think that that's something that the county needs to know, and that you people need to be aware of, that we know. You're supposed to be impartial, and you're not. And so this is already voted on the behest of the Board of Supervisors. So it's already on court. The other thing I've heard complaints about was that no one ever shows up to these meetings. There's no support of the service.
We're talking about the extensions tonight. We were supposed to address your comments as to
Okay.
the appropriateness of the extension.
There's a whole bunch of people here that's silent, that are in support of continuing these extensions on these permits. But they're silent because they don't want to be beat up on social media or verbally in public like I have been, and even been threatened and had anonymous threats sent to my house. So, but I can take that. I don't care. This project is going, guys, they're pouring concrete, getting ready to set re-rod. The horse is already out of the barn. Stop this stuff. All you're doing is spending and wasting money and time. For the county and for 250 plus people that have signed easements and agreements. Thank you.
All right, I cannot read the last name on this. Whoever remembers signing in after Kurt Byrne, first name Jim? Sandquist?
Yeah.
Would you like to speak?
I want to say.
Can you come up here, please?
Nothing like. You can't hear me, sorry. I just want to say that Kurt, for the wind turbine, I believe that Bob went through proper channels, the owner checklist. Legal people that would represent. I know that lawyers do not agree among themselves. Depends on what lawyer you want to talk to. And Bob, I think, you talk to lawyers that was representing this county, and they told you to go ahead and sign. So I'm for it and for it to stay.
All right, if we could get the microphone back up here, and just a reminder to say your name and at least a general.
Thompson?
No.
No, okay. Lisa Thompson, no. Okay. Whoever signed in after Lisa Thompson. From Cedar Rapids? Like to come talk? Mike is on.
My address is 2601 Beaver Avenue, Cedar Rapids, Iowa. I'm the project director for the proposed under construction Salt Creek Link. I believe our attorneys have made all the relevant statements tonight and matters of fact. I don't really have anything to add more to add to that. However, I do feel this gentleman here to my right deserves to have the information that he needs. So I will say here this evening that the corrected bond has been issued to Tama County addressing Scrivener's errors. And it is a continuous bond. It is unfair to continue to perpetuate misinformation that the bond expires at the end of next year, and where will be Tama County and its residents at that time. It's a continuous bond, continuous decommissioning bond. This is often required for renewable energy projects like solar and wind parks. It guarantees the proper decommissioning and site restoration when the project reaches the end of its operational life. This project is proposed at a minimum for 25 years. Each year, Tama County will receive an updated certificate from here on out until the operational end of the life of the facility.
Think this says Ryan Meadows.
No.
No? Okay. I cannot read the signature, whoever lives at 1959 220th Street.
Nobody.
Okay. Same again, 1959 220th Street.
Well, thank you.
Yes, I'm Denny Berger. I live in, what?
Come up here, so you can face the crowd, please.
Well, I'm addressing you.
Address.
Okay, that's.
I do live in Traer. I want to emphasize what Berlin said. I hope you're prepared to spend Tama County's money, and if you do get beat, it is on your shoulders that you are spending taxpayers' monies for something that is trivial. I think you should grant the extension.
All right, Gilbert. No. Okay, Jack Cooper. All right. John Wigglepluck.
Name's John Winkleblett. I live at 1870 Giants. This is that, whether to allow the extensions or not. How much time do you need? The time that has been allowed for Salt Creek has been more than ample. I think we can all agree at that. During that time of these extensions, they haven't even been able to get their facts straight. Whether it be turbine, where, we've heard all the discrepancies in the hearing. This is ridiculous. Tama County is not a signed check for large wind energy companies to come in here and use the people of Tama County as a doormat. Referring to TCAT, TCAT is also the same. 99% of our people are your neighbors, are my neighbors. They're Tama County taxpayers. So the extensions as shown, they've had more than ample time. Whether it's the previous board of supervisors, who one supervisor had an easement. Do we not call that a conflict of interest? This is ridiculous. And then for this to be called trivial, this is not trivial. This is not small trivial. This is whether you allow a large wind energy company to walk over this county. Regulations for this county for anybody to follow. I strongly urge you to revoke any extensions. They've been given ample time. This is ridiculous. When you talk about lawsuits, that's what they have to threaten. Everybody's going to sue everybody. That's how large wind energy companies work. They want to scare you into oblivion. I've been threatened. My family has been threatened. I'm still here because truth will prevail. Again, encourage you to revoke any extensions.
Pass the art. Okay, fill it up.
Kelly Nagle from Share, and I'm gonna say, like, John, I can say more, but I will say, Bob Wilcoon talking about, the meeting in November. He did not have right, a lot of things had changed, and it wasn't corrected. He didn't have all right, but he granted the extension, and he kept granting the extension. Also, he would stand in this room before all of this happened, and he would argue with us, but he always just wanted us to get along, but he wanted the turbines. So don't tell me that you did not have an opinion. You have an opinion, but don't tell me you did not have an opinion. So I would highly encourage you to revoke the extension. Thank you.
All right. Shane. Vogler? No. From 3233 150th Street, Whittier. Is that a no? Hewler. Okay, sorry, Janet Wilson.
I'm Janet Wilson from rural Whittier. I asked listening to their first building permits. I wonder if due diligence was done when the new permits were done. That makes you wonder, was due diligence done when the extensions were added? He said his reason for granting those extensions was, well, they had ordered blades, they had done engineering, they had done more planning. Spending money is not the same as building. They were supposed to have visible buildings started within 90 days, then within their first extension, their second extension, after their new building permit, they were supposed to have visible construction started, not just money spent, things ordered, things planned. I ask you to revoke the permits. Thank you.
All right, Sandy. Can't read this one at all, 1716 210th Street. Oh, sorry. Ken Sash? Oh, Keith, sorry. Sorry, Keith, I thought maybe you had a relative or something. I couldn't read your writing. You're not the only one, don't worry.
You're the only one that can't read my paper either.
Thank you.
This on?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm Keith Stice from Little Gloucester, Iowa. My farm's Crystal Township on section 21, Crystal Township. I'm a fourth generation on that farm. I think as a farmer, a landowner, and longtime landowner, my desire for my land should have as much effect as those that don't want me to have windmills. I feel I have the right to have that windmill there. We fought this battle for a long time now. I was on the original board that went in to get the contract with the first windmill company. There's a lot of lawsuits, a lot of delays was thrown at us. We went through now, you're talking about where we can get them built. Come out my way and see the action that's going on. There's contractors going every single day, a lot of contractors going. I've got cement poured on my ground. I got the driveways into my turbine site. I got, my sister's driveways into her turbine site. These windmills will be built, and they will be built on time. They don't have any more. Address this or remember it when you're voting. Our board of supervisors said they short of money here when they took off. These windmills bring in $2 million a year to the taxpayers of Tama County. I think that's a pretty important deal, and I think it needs to be remembered. Thank you.
All right, West, I think it says Chet. No, okay. Karen Hardy. Hold my.
Not need one, but we will be surrounded by turbines, and I got involved in this before I ever even knew what was going on. I don't know why we're here, because the Tama County Land Use Plan clearly allows the supervisors to provide incentives to protect land. Dated 1/23/1996. So we have a Tama County Land Use Commission plan in action that protects land that's above 60 CSR, core suitability rating. People, I don't know if people know what decommission means. It does not mean that you take the turbines and solar panels apart. It means that after they break down,
Karen.
yeah, I know, extension.
About the extension.
After they break down, you then have some ability to take out those extensions. We don't have plan in action. We need to have, I don't know how Bob, he commented about the lawyers. We've been trying to talk to Brent Herron for several years, and when Bob spoke to us, he said that he was not able to get hold of Brent Herron, that Brent was always out of his office. He also said that to us on January 29th, that that most of the voters that were commenting and talking to him were against the extensions and against the turbines being built. Our new supervisors represented 65% of the voters in Tama County that voted for them, knowing what the extensions and the
plan was going to be for Tama County land, so our new supervisors were voted in. I'm confused about that too. I don't know about the amount of silence, but the people spoke when they voted.
Are you gonna speak to the extensions?
So, well, I would like to speak to the fact that, so much of what's going on here is so confusing as to whether or not we don't even know what we're not even sure what companies are here anymore. There's been so many companies. So I guess my confusion with all of this is which companies are here and how many are here and what are their names? Bob gave quite a good lengthy article on January 8th saying that no driveways or culverts, that hardly anything had been done yet. So why are extensions being, that was on January 8th and 9th, why are extensions being granted when nothing was done on January 8th and 9th? Thank you.
All right, that's signed in. Would anyone else like to come up and comment?
Good try. Thank you. That's very good.
Okay, I'm Brent Welling. I'm from Brent. I'm a member of NextEra Wind Farm landowner. I'm a third generation farmer. My boys are a fourth generation farmer taking over. I've had turbines on my property for 22 years and 20 years. I'm here speaking on behalf of the amount of income that comes into the county by extending the extension is tremendous. The amount of money that gets spent on family farms gets spent back in the community from our paychecks that we get from the wind turbines, goes back to the local businesses, goes back to local cars, goes back to everything else. Is astronomical of the amount of grocery stores, the restaurants, the motels, the RV parks that get spent. The financial impact is great for the community. I heard somebody make a comment about the community was struggling or, or financially was not in the best condition. The amount of money gets left here when the wind farm is built for the next 6 months, and then what's been done for the next 20 years after that is very impactful to everybody. And that's what I want to understand is you guys are fighting about a permit, either yes or no. I'm in favor of a permit. I came here on behalf of NextEra to talk about the lifelong friends I made, the business partners we've met, the relationships we've had by a wind farm coming to my property and my family's property. So I'm on your behalf saying that I think you should promote it because you guys will see the huge benefit after it's done. Thank you.
All right, would anyone else like to come up and comment?
Wait one.
Spell your last name.
WARREN. Wake Warren, Garland. Started out saying we want to keep this about the extension where we all know that is not what this is about. It's about neighbors telling neighbors what they can do with their property. And that's really it. See a lot of people not my age here. I'm the next generation of Tama County. And we have a bankrupt county, schools that are failing, and we want to deny money come into our county because you don't like what someone's doing with their land. Should we, if I don't like what you're doing with your house, should I be able to tell you what you're doing with your house? No. So that's what I want to say. It's about people wanting to stop windmills when it has nothing to do with them and everything to do with this county. For me, because I'm the next generation and my kids who want to go to the schools, I want to stay here. And if we don't have any schools left because they're broke, because you guys don't let the windmills happen, I hope you're happy. Thanks.
Would anyone else like to go?
Hi, I'm Barb Jordan, and I basically wanted to say something about Bob Oakham, because I've known Bob Oakham since I was in elementary. We were at the same Christian school, and I hear, lying, that hurts me as a friendship with Bob. Bob is so black and white. A lot of people of you know he's black and white. As a police officer, he would have gave his grandmother a ticket for running a stop sign. That's how black and white he is, about following rules, protocols. So when he said he checked out to whether or not they should have a permit or not, I am sure Bob checked, and if there was no reason for him not to have a permit, he gave him a permit. And I just think it's a new point to go after Bob.
Anyone else? Anyone in the hall? Anyone online? I believe we're done with public comment.
Could Casey take the air? Anybody else? I think it feels good. Thank you, Casey. And so now we go to, Bob Bookroom has a 5-minute rebuttal if he so chooses.
You have the 5 minutes.
All 5 minutes probably isn't enough, but we'll make it short. A lot of things said again tonight, and there's a lot of concerns. A lot of concerns I've been hearing a lot, through the public as far as the Board of Supervisors and the Board of Adjustment and the members and their involvements with TCAT in serving on the board decisions that they'll make. You want to be very careful. It's okay to have a strong opinion on something, but you need to follow the code and stuff. I don't feel that everybody's doing that. Conflict of interest. I'm sorry that some of them don't want to look at wind turbines, but if the law is allowing it, I went through the channels. If I could have denied them, had a reason to, I would. You don't have to believe me if you don't want to. And yes, I would have given my dad a ticket. Mom almost got a ticket. This whole thing has gotten absolutely ridiculous. It's great that they come up with quotes and everything. Tell us the whole story. Yeah, I said stuff. Tell about the rest of it. I'm willing to talk to anybody. This stuff has gotten way out of hand with the supervisors and their personal agendas and some of the board members on Board of Adjustment. It's ridiculous. You guys gotta be careful on your decisions. I'm telling you, if you don't follow the code, so when you got a conflict of interest, you need to realize that and you need to do what's right. I followed the code. Maybe you don't agree with the model numbers and all that stuff. All that stuff was discussed before and taken care of. That wasn't the issue here. This was about the extensions. This company, if you go up the road and see all the progress that's been being made, and then I hear about, progress wasn't made and all that. Well, sorry if you don't agree with it. Just because you don't like to look at them or you think the light makes you sick, that's not a reason by law right now that's gonna stop it. Sorry. Everybody has their rights, irrespective. TCAT members bring up some good points, so do the others. It's gonna go one way or the other, and like I told supervisors, the week I was quitting. Sorry, but phase one's looking like it's pretty much gonna happen. And you can sit here and you can vote down and hear me. They have no good reason to, most likely. So be careful. Thank you.
Salt Creek has 5 minutes for rebuttal now.
Thank you. I just want to say, I respect the passion here. I respect the passion here on both sides. I'm going to turn my back to the audience because I want to talk to the board right now. I'm not here to scare anyone. I'm not sure I could if I wanted to. That's not me. Mr. Winkleplex Right. He said, what use is the law if we don't follow it? That is all Salt Creek is asking you all to do, to follow your own county's ordinances. What this comes down to under your ordinances, again, page 4, exhibit 5, section 2103. The only question you all need to answer today is Bob made an error when he created these extensions. Haven't heard any testimony, any evidence that Bob made an error. I've heard that the board of supervisors don't agree with Bob. That's fine. We're allowed to disagree. But that is not an error. There is absolutely no limitation in your ordinance to the length of an extension. Bob told you that he looked at the ordinances, that he looked at the material for the permit and Salt Creek had provided him. He told you that he spoke to his county attorney. Several people have gotten up and told you that Bob, 37 years in law enforcement, give a ticket to his dad and his grandma. Does that sound like someone who's up here lying to you? Does that sound like someone who is a vocal advocate of wind such that he made an error in doing his job? Bob followed the law, and that is all that we are asking you all to do. You can have whatever feelings you want about this project. You may not like this project, but you are only Bob made a mistake. I haven't heard any evidence that Bob made a mistake. And that is why, on behalf of Salt Creek Wind, we would ask you all to vote to affirm the extensions that Mr. Voku granted. Thank you.
The board of supervisors has 5 minutes to make their rebuttal.
Thank you very much. And thank you again for your time here today. It is striking the passion in this room for this issue. And it is that passion, which is why this should have been taken so seriously at the beginning. When they were given 60 days or 90 days, I'm sorry, to get started, they should have done their homework. They should have identified the right turbines. They should have done all of those things. They didn't, and they didn't get started. Salt Creek stands before that they don't move. They tell you they have been out there constructing things the last several months. Raise appeal to say there's an automatic state. They can't be doing it. Yet they tell you they should be allowed to proceed because they have been doing it. Oh my goodness. It's all about respect for the law, they tell you. The law that doesn't respect. The opinions they don't respect. Law that said they had to identify the turbines at the outset. And do that using a completely different one, get it rubber stamped, and they get more time to do it. Important. Diligent representatives and fair. It was also important for Mr. Voku to do the same thing. It gives me no pleasure to stand here and tell you, I'm a small town boy, I don't take pleasure in telling you that somebody tell this board the truth, but I'm not telling you that. It's the lawyer who sat with him during that proceeding. If you look at Exhibit 6, he says, point blank in the future. Testify that you had. Pretty good advice. They've had that document since yesterday. Where's their evidence that there was some other unidentified lawyer? This lawyer says you shouldn't have done what you did, and you should have looked at these issues, and you shouldn't rubber stamp it. Yet that's what happened. The residents of this county, all that passion, they have a right to fairness. You heard Mr. Voku's tone with me. You heard his tone with Salt Creek's lawyer, markedly different, wasn't it? He told you what he thinks of the views of the other side. Not all of you sitting there agree with me. You've all been respectful to him. You did use the crap 4 times. Describe the other views. Those passionate views held in this room. That's what he stood up here and did. Crap, crap, crap. Residents of Tama County had a right to expect better, but they had a right to expect better from the outset. Why are there deadlines? So they say, well, there's nothing that says we can't grant extensions forever, except common sense. Why is there a 90-day deadline to get started? They stand up here and tell you, well, we couldn't complete it that quickly. You couldn't even start it. Because that's what we're talking about. You couldn't get started within those 90 days because you didn't do your homework, you didn't identify the right turbine, you didn't do any of those things. Why is there a deadline? Because you're supposed to have done your homework. They didn't. It is a simple question. What point is enough enough? And there is an intent to the law. There is a 90-day requirement because you had to do your homework. Mr. Bocoon says there's no limit to the number of times I, as that the Board of Supervisors elected by the residents of this county established. I can extend it forever, no matter what. They can drop their permits or zoning certificates, apply again. I can give them another year. But that's not the intent of the law. The intent of the law is to do your homework. By the way, I just criticize them because they say, well, we've been spending money left and right here recently. They weren't supposed to be doing anything. You know, one of the things they said they spent money on, the wrong turbines. Said they were going to use one type of turbine. They're not. And they say, but we invested a lot of money in those. So let us go ahead. We didn't do our homework. We didn't get started in 90 days. Give us the tool. Use their words. That's not the purpose of the law. It is not the case that Mr. Bocoon can give them so many do-overs that it is 15 times at this yes. There was no good faith start, there was no good faith effort, and it is not appropriate to grant that extension to this lady again. Thank you. Right on the
Okay, I think that, that concludes the order of this board hearing from others. It's now our turn to deliberate and, decide where we want to go from here. So we all are, firm in that the three options we have, we can affirm the zoning administrator's decision. We can modify it in some fashion, or we can reverse the zoning administrator's decision. We have those three. I would ask for a motion and a second, then we can have this. I won't make a motion. I would ask one of the other board members if they choose to do so.
I make a motion to affirm.
Okay, Mike has made a motion to affirm. Do I have a second?
A second.
Berlin. And I'm gonna have a roll call vote alphabetically as we did before. And so this,
Discuss it all.
yeah, does anybody want to further the discussion?
I think it is very passionate and you look around the crowd and you've got people on both sides of the fence. But if you look at the point that was brought up is if you look at the ordinance, it doesn't state, and I understand your point. Yeah, they extended. But there isn't a limit on how many times they can extend. You know, as long as there's progress being made, you can continue to extend it. And this is a huge project. What I see, that's the reason for I'm affirming the extensions.
Okay, and so, just to make sure we all understand, an I vote would be that you are agreeing with Mike and Berlene's motion to affirm the administrator's decision, and a no vote would mean you do not agree.
Can I discuss?
Oh, you betcha.
I want to ask you, do you know if I have a bias?
I've not attributed a bias to anybody on this board.
Well, I do have a bias. My husband and I did not sign up for winter. I really don't want him in the county. But I have to follow the law, and your arguments are about model, are about bias, which, oh my gosh, we have bias. And I'm going against what I want for this county. And you're talking about homework that they did or didn't do. I don't even know what you're talking about. I'm sorry, but your argument is not compelling, and I just don't think it's gonna hold up if this goes beyond here. So again, I'm extremely concerned about what happens after this. Listen to what he said. Is that really compelling?
Okay, so we'll start our roll call, and again, and I would mean you agree that, the zoning administrator's decision should be affirmed, and a no would be, do not affirm it. Mike,
Aye.
Nancy, Joe,
No.
John. And I am a no. So the affirmation, motion did not pass. I would ask that we try again to either modify or reverse the, zoning administrator's decision.
I don't think we have the authority to modify.
Mr. Henderson?
It is what the ordinance applies.
Well, the ordinance, right, we have to go by the ordinance, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So we have to go by what the ordinances are, so I think our ability to modify is very limited. My opinion.
And so, do I have another motion?
Decision of the zoning administrator as he exceeded his authority by granting excessive extensions of the zoning certificates.
I second that.
Any discussion? Would either of you like to comment further? No discussion? Okay, we will have another roll call vote alphabetically. And this is to reverse the zoning administrator's decision. And I would, be that you agree with that, and a no would be that you do not agree to reverse the zoning administrator's decision. Mike?
Nope.
Nancy, Joe?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Berlin?
No.
Yes. The zoning administrator's decision to grant the extensions in December of 24 has been reversed. And as far as I know, we just need a motion to adjourn. Are you?
So moved.
Okay.
Mike so moves that we adjourn. Do I have a second? That's Joe. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you.
Early on.
Thank you.